Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you my no-till garden, which is all organic, no pesticides, no fertilizers, nothing. Now just walking in, it looks like a crazy mess, but there is a system to this madness. It's supposed to look like this, because when I first started this garden, there was really heavy clay soils that when it would, because I was tilling it, it would bake in the sun and it would become rock hard, and all the plants would die because all the water from the rain couldn't get through the soil. So I started the no-till system, which is I went for a base of clover. I plant this, I reseed it every year, and what this clover does, first thing it does is shades out weeds. If you get a dense enough cover, it'll sprout from the last fall, and it'll block out all the weeds. So as you can see, I don't do any weeding at all. Some stuff pops through, but the majority of it is covered by the clover. Second thing the clover does is it adds nitrogen, which is great for a garden because most plants that produce vegetables use a lot of nitrogen. So by adding the clover, you don't need any extra nitrogen. Now the third thing clover does is it provides shade. At least in my area, the summers get pretty hot and they can get pretty dry. So the clover adds as a shade and it keeps the soil moist. And that being said, it also, if you get a lot of rain, like this year we had a ton of rain, and the clover actually absorbed most of it, so the plants didn't die. So I know most people I've talked to in my area, their gardens were terrible. Everything died because it was all just sitting in water. So the clover helps keep water in the soil or take it out if there's too much. It helps equalize it. Then the fourth thing clover does is it breaks up the soil. Because clover has a very fine root, so it actually breaks up the clay soils, makes a lot of air pockets, a lot of space for water to go in, so you get better filtration and all that. Because if you have clay soils, you would know that it rains and the rain just sits on top of the soil, and your plants can't get it, creates puddles, and it ends up killing the base of the plant because it's soaking in water. So the reason I started this no-till is because, as you can see behind here, it's all thick bushes, woods. This space I'm gardening with was bushes a few years ago. So I ended up clearing this land for the garden, and it was doing terrible. The soil was very poor, very dense, and nothing would grow. So I did research, learned about no-till, and it's really better for the soil, improving soil fertility. And another thing is Mother Nature hates empty space. Anywhere you go, that's true. They want to fill it up. They don't like bare soil. It's not natural. So you could either let the weeds take over and constantly weed them, or you could use Mother Nature to your advantage and cover it with something you want it to be covered with. So I chose clover because I figured stuff is already going to be growing here anyways. I might as well cover it with something I want it to be covered with. This way I'm not fighting Mother Nature, because you're never going to win. You got to work together with it. And plus it looks a lot healthier. For some reason I hate bare soils. I don't like how they look. And all the nutrients escape, just the baking soil. This is a lot more healthy. Now when you till your garden every year, what happens is it kills all the good bugs and the bad bugs, but it kills everything on the top of the soil and in the soil, all the micronutrients, all the little bugs and bacteria, funguses, all that. It kills it all. So basically you have dead soil. And it's not beneficial to you because most of that stuff in the soil helps you. It's an ecosystem that you need to get right. Because if you kill all the good stuff, when the bad stuff comes, there'll be nothing to control that bad stuff. Because right now, since I haven't tilled this garden about 3 years now, the soil is filled with all sorts of stuff. The grass, the clover underneath it, has a lot of bugs in here, and it all controls each other. Like, I get bad bugs in here every now and then, but it seems like the good bugs take care of them. Because these plants, as you can see, they're doing pretty well. There's nothing eating them really. Getting good harvest, and I don't spray anything on them. I don't do anything to this garden. All I do is plant in the beginning of the year, and I let it go. I don't weed it. I don't do anything. And I'm still getting good results. Now, when you have a garden without fertilization, you want to plant so that there's not a ton of plants in one area, because each plant takes out different nutrients. So like tomatoes will take out different nutrients than beans. So you don't want to plant all tomatoes in one spot, because then basically you're getting a chunk of dirt that's dead in certain nutrients. So what I do, right here I have a tomato plant, and next to it I'll plant a bean plant. Those of you that don't know, beans add nitrogen to the soil. And then next to that I have a cucumber plant, and then another tomato. So all this, it's very well diverse. You're getting the same, or a bunch of nutrients taken out, but nutrients being put back in, and you're not creating dead spots. Because a lot of people, they have spots in their garden that do really well, and spots that do really bad. And a lot of the times that's because they're planting, they'll plant corn down this whole row every year for 5 years. That drains the soil of certain nutrients. You gotta move things around, keep things dispersed. Got a lot of beans here. And this way you're pulling nutrients evenly. It's all balanced. Now when you're choosing a cover crop, you don't have to choose clover. You could choose anything that works for you. Be clover, alfalfa, ryegrass, buckwheat, anything really. But what I would say, make sure you get something that doesn't compete with your plants. Because if you can see the clover, that's about how high it gets right there, and it's nowhere near competing with the tomatoes. You don't want something that's going to grow taller than your plant, or wrap around them, or do anything to hurt them. You want something that's going to be there and help and not affect them. Now I know if you were using like buckwheat, that gets really tall. It could shade everything out. It throws seeds. Choose something that's low to the ground. Preferably dense, because you don't want weeds to grow through it. And it's an added bonus if it adds nutrients back to the soil. Because these cover crops are just helping the garden. You don't want them taken over. So some pros and cons of this system. The good being, it's not very labor intensive. Like I said, all I do is the beginning of the year I plant it. And I just let it go and do its thing. So that saves you a ton of time. You're not in here weeding all the time. You're not spraying. It's better for the environment. It's creating an ecosystem. Everything's working together. And it's a lot healthier. Like I said, this is all organic. Nothing sprayed. Some of the cons, you're not going to get as high of yields because, like I said, you're not spraying, you're not having fertilizer. I generally don't plant that close together. I give stuff space. Like as you can see, this garden is relatively empty. I maybe have 30 plants in the whole thing, just because I don't want to overfill it and take out all the nutrients. I want everything to work together. Another thing you could do that you want to consider is adding beehives to your garden. I have 2 right here, and these guys do a great job fertilizing everything, pollinating, I'm sorry. Everything gets pollinated, there's not a flower that is missed. And it really helps your environment. Plus you get honey, so if you want, I'll do a video about these guys in a few weeks. So this is my no-till garden. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.